صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. We are now in our 6th night for the program in English, mashallah, how the time goes. We are going to begin tonight. We're going to have some beautiful Quran. So allow me, and I want all to give a warm welcome to Samahat al-Sheikh Ibrahim Yassin. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for him, please.
السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى وكذلك نجزي من أسرف ولم يؤمن بآيات ربه ولعذاب الآخرة أشد وأبقى أفلم يهد لهم كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون يمشون في مساكنهم إن في ذلك لآيات لأولي النهى ولولا كلمة سبقت من ربك لكان لزاما وأجل مسمى فاصبر على ما يقولون وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها ومن آناء الليل فسبح وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى ولا تمدن عينيك إلى ما متعنا به أزواجا منهم زهرة الحياة الدنيا لنفتنهم فيه ورزق ربك خير وأبقى وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى وقالوا لولا يأتينا بآية من ربه أولم تأتهم بينة ما في الصحف الأولى ولو أنا أهلكناهم بعذاب من قبله لقالوا ربنا لولا أرسلت إلينا رسولا فنتبع آياتك من قبل أن نذل ونخزى قل كل متربص فتربصوا فستعلمون من أصحاب الصراط السوي ومن اهتدى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون لاهية قلوبهم وأسروا النجوى الذين ظلموا هل هذا إلا بشر مثلكم أفتأتون السحر وأنتم تبصرون قال ربي يعلم القول في السماء والأرض وهو السميع العليم بل قالوا أضغاث أحلام بل افتراه بل هو شاعر فليأتنا بآية كما أرسل الأولون ما آمنت قبلهم من قرية أهلكناها أفهم يؤمنون وما أرسلنا قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون صدق الله العلي العظيم الفاتحة اللهم صل على محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you for that beautiful recitation. Let's honor him by having a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad, please. Couple quick points to make real quick. Please double check your cellular devices, make sure they are silenced or turned off so we don't have any interruptions. We'd greatly appreciate that. Another point is we are collaborating with the ASHURA project. We do have a food drive set up with bins outside, so any donations would be greatly appreciated. Just to let everyone know, this is live streaming on icfa.com. There also is a YouTube and Facebook page that you could check out, Islamic Center of America. It's archived. You could watch it at a later time. So for anyone that's unable to make it, that you know, that wanted to come because of time or what have you, they could always play back, watch it, watch all the previous nights, and catch up as well. So that being said, I wanted to briefly touch upon something that I mentioned yesterday and elaborate on it, which is the idea, and I was describing forgetting oneself. I made reference to Surah Al-Hashr, chapter 59, verse 19 in particular, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He will cause you to forget yourself. So basically, what I was alluding to here is that when you forget yourself, what does that mean? I was saying that you forget the reason why you're here, why God created you, why you're on this planet. And then I said, if you want to know the answer to that, you look at Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse number 2 in particular gives us the answer. Why are we here? And that was 3 things I outlined. And that was death, life, and a test, basically. So the ayah stipulates that God created death and life. And it's a test for us here to see which of us is going to perform the greatest deeds, the best of the deeds, while we're here. So that brings me to another quick point that I was thinking about, is that when we're here, let's take a student in school, for example. When we're here, we're preparing for an exam, let's say a semester, you have finals, end of the year exams. Then what you're doing is you're prepping the entire year, the entire semester. You're studying, you're putting your work in, your time in, and then you have the exams. From the student's perspective, they may be like, oh, this is an inconvenience, I got to take this exam, I got to deal with it. But no, academically, it's to enlighten you, to educate you, to expand your knowledge further. So let's take another example. So let's say a business guy, a financial guy. He has a business. So throughout the whole year, he wants to evaluate his business, right? So he wants to determine his profits, his losses, his revenue, how much money he's making, how can he grow, how can he expand his business. So when you take a look at the month of Muharram, basically, which is toward the end of our Islamic calendar, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to profit you deeds-wise? What hasanat are you doing? What good deeds are you doing? Versus the losses you're committing, any sins you may have been committing. So you have to kind of apply that. And unfortunately, we followers of Ahl al-Bayt, in general Muslims, we're not really analyzing that. So we're at this end of this Islamic calendar. Take a look at it like the Georgian calendar. We have December 31st to January 1st with the new year coming up. Everyone makes a resolution, hey, I want to stop smoking, I want to get in the gym, exercise a little. Let's try to apply that philosophy to improving oneself spiritually and intellectually by looking at your deen, looking at where you're at, evaluating it. How can you profit greater by doing better things throughout your life, to advance? And at the end of each year, make an evaluation. Okay, what did I do? How can I improve? How could I get better? These type of things. These are small things we could do, and I want to share that with you, but how we can improve as Muslims, inshallah. So that being said, I want to begin with our lecture, inshallah. So I want everyone to give a warm welcome for Samahat al-Sheikh, Dr. Ibrahim Kazaruni. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ala Muhammad, please.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونستغفره ونصلي على سيدنا ونبينا خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Praise be to Allah. We praise Him, thank Him, seek His assistance, and ask for His forgiveness. We convey our salutation and greeting to the seal of the prophethood, the most noble, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his pure progeny. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifina'ik. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مثل أهل بيتي كمثل سفينة نوح من ركبها نجا ومن تخلف عنها غرق. The simile of my household, Ahlul Bayt, is like Noah's Ark. Whoever gets on board is saved, and those who stay behind will be perished. The main theme last night, for the benefit of those who were not able to attend, was a hadith from Imam Hussein salawatullah salamu alayhi, الناس عبيد الدنيا والدين لاعق على ألسنتهم. People are servants or slaves of the material life, and they pay lip service to the faith so long as their interests are protected and preserved. And once they are confronted with a challenge, very few people stay faithful. In attempting to unpack the hadith, I said that if you look at purely the language, the narrative of the hadith itself is no different from other ahadith that we have that say the same thing. We have similar ahadith from Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi. We have from other imams that clearly remind their audience, their disciple, their friends, or the Muslim Ummah in general, that the love of material life is the heart of the problem that we have. And we have already spent few nights explaining this. But I said that we can depart from purely the language and look and focus on the context where this hadith was said or narrated. Then we see that it's totally, the Imam is trying to explain totally different things. I reminded our brothers and sisters last night that the hadith was said the second or the third month of Muharram 61, after the confrontation with Hur, where a battalion of soldiers that he commanded came to Kufa, or came to the plain of Karbala, and stopped in front of Abu Abdullah, informing him that I have a command, that not to allow you to go anywhere else from here. A long conversation develops. Then Imam turns his back to the battalion of soldiers and speaks to his own people, his own camp, and says, "An-nasu abidu dunya wad-dinu la'iqun ala anfusihim, ala al-sanatihim." What he says, he's trying to tell his camp that look at them. This is only a sample of the whole bunch that we have in Kufa. These people claimed allegiance to the Prophet, to Ahlul Bayt. Few of them, quite few of them, fought with Ali during the Battle of Siffin, Jamal and Khawarij. But now they have taken position against me, the grandson of the Holy Prophet, and the son of Ali and everything else. These people clearly knew who the Ahlul Bayt was. They were not strangers. They knew Zainab during the period that Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi was the Khalif and the Imam in Kufa. Zainab would organize lessons, teaching lessons and education lessons for the women of Kufa. Most of their women knew who Zainab was. Even the male, they knew who Zainab was. They knew Imam Hussein. They knew the rest of the family. They grew up with them. So the point is, what happened to this society? Imam is trying to explain. He says it is the love of the material life, the comfort zone that we construct around ourselves. As long as that comfort zone is preserved and protected, we pay lip service to the faith. But any intrusion into that comfort zone, that people or somehow believe in ideology, is asking us to struggle to do something. Leave few hours of your work and come to Friday prayer. This is a taboo. You can't touch it. It's outside comfort zone. During Muharram, the program starts at 6. You can finish half an hour early to make it to the program. Nothing is going to happen. Even during Friday prayer, when they are sitting and listening to the sermon, their fingers are working hard with the text. As if they didn't respond to the call or to the text, the whole world is going to come to an end. We are not prepared to come out of that comfort zone, one way or the other. Now, if somebody comes to you today and says, as of tomorrow, don't go to the mosque, don't pray, and I offer you $6,000, $10,000 a month, it will be hard to reject it, wouldn't it? Muawiyah did the same thing. His representatives would go around the so-called Ummah with a bag of gold and a sword. Swear allegiance to Yazid, here you are. This is the bag of gold. You don't need to do anything. Stay in Kufa, stay in your own house. That's what Ibn Ziyad promised most of the so-called leader of the opposition. If you come out, then we have the army of Yazid that you have to deal with. If you use, I once did it many years ago, they were given a huge amount of money in those days, a net present value, which is a very small, easy formula you can use to find out what was the figure, say 10,000 coin at that time, how much it's worth today. With a simple calculation, it comes to be huge. We are not prepared to lose few pieces of silver, few cents, few dollars to come to the mosque for Friday prayer, and we become critical of Bani Umayyah and everybody else that listened to them when they were offered huge amount of money. What Imam is telling his audience, his friends, his colleagues, and his camp, that look what love of dunya does to these people. First, I pointed out last night that God departs from the society. God is no longer there. Once God departs, the whole value system changes. Haqq becomes batil, batil becomes haqq. Amr bil ma'roof and nahy anil munkar switches around. Becomes amr bil munkar and nahy anil ma'roof. The expectation that the ummah of the Holy Prophet is supposed to stand up for justice, what the verse in Surah Al-Hadid clearly promised, is no longer to be there. What justice? Justice means utilitarian, as long as something is beneficial to me, becomes good, and that's justice. That society is deformed, is completely changed. This is not what Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Prophet worked for. The hadith that I started with from the Holy Prophet ﷺ, مَثَلُ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي كَمَثَلِ سَفِينَةِ نُوحٍ. It's a use of language that tries to remind everyone that there is, Ahlul Bayt are similar to Noah's Ark. If you go on board, you will succeed. If you stay behind, you will perish and fail. The problem is, what does it mean to go on board? من ركبها نجا ومن تخلف عنها غرق. What does it mean to go on board and stay behind? This hadith with the verse in Surah Ahzab, number 33, آية تطهير إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. These two are used by our theologians and mutakallimin to discuss the concept of isma and the infallibility of Ahlul Bayt. It's a useful topic, informative topic. That's not what I intend to do tonight. That is left to a different time. What I intend to do is to look at this hadith in a social context, where I do not depart from the overarching principle that we started our conversation the beginning, the first night, which was how to bring ASHURA as a component of living reality in our life, not an historical fact. So if I want to do that, I have to digress a bit with regard to the interpretation of this hadith. Certainly, there is a question which is posed, and I'm sure few of you might have, the question might have come to your mind, or you have heard it from others. The question is put this way: do our imams have a singular goal and different methodology, or each of the imams establishes his own goal and his own method of dealing or achieving that goal? We certainly see a difference. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, They are very close to the period of Muawiyah, Bani Umayyah, and Imam Hussein and Yazid. Why is it that Imam Hassan signs a peace treaty with Muawiyah, and Imam Hussein says, "Ala inna ad-da'i ibn ad-da'i gave me only two choice between martyrdom and submission. And we are not, and people like us are not the ones that would submit to this kind of misery." What's the difference? There are those who spend huge amount of time, and by the way, if you go to the literature, you see a number of books about this issue, trying to explain the difference between the two. But what comes clear, that our Imams had singular goal. The goal was the preservation of Islam and protection of Islam, and prevention of any deviation that ultimately is going to destroy Islam. We see it in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wasalam alayhi, clearly says that I am prepared to accept the isolation, the marginalization, and everything else, as long as I am the one who hurts, but Islam is preserved. If the pain is purely for me, I will accept it. Imam Hassan said the same thing. Imam Hussein may have used different narratives, but says the same thing. That if Islam is to be protected with my martyrdom, so be it. The goal is the preservation of Islam. Marhum Shahid Sadr, rahmatullah alayhi, may Allah bless his soul, has a very articulate way of answering the question. He says that the life of our Imams can be divided into different phases. That all our infallible Imams worked within a clearly planned and defined and detailed program. They went through different phases, and the methodology that they chose was dependent on what we call the prevailing conditions outside. Otherwise, the goal was the same. Phase 1 starts immediately after the demise of the Holy Prophet and continues until the end of Karbala and beginning of the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin salawatullah wasalam. The demise of the Holy Prophet and the beginning of what we call the deviation clearly made it an obligation on the Imams to contain this deviation and preserve Islam. We see this narrative, Amir al-Mu'mineen talks about it, Imam Hassan talks about it. When he signs the treaty with Muawiyah, Imam Hassan is asked and condemned by his followers or few of his disciples. How can you sign a peace treaty with Muawiyah? As his answer is clear. He says, I swear by God, if I had not signed the peace treaty with Muawiyah, not a single, these 4 or 5 individual true Muslims that stand with me or stood with me, even they would have been slaughtered. Nothing would have been left. And Islam would have been completely wiped out. And Imam Hussein says the same thing. After the incident of Karbala, particularly the gruesome way by which Imam was martyred, it made it clear that the ummah of that time, there was no hope whatsoever. Completely marginalized, they have no hope of ever waking up. I'll give you 2 examples. How they were materialistically inclined. On the day of ASHURA, after they have already slaughtered everyone, there are members of Kufa on their horses running around. One of them sees a ring on the hand of Imam Hussein and sits next to it. Starts crying, but yet takes the dagger out and cuts the finger to get the ring. Somebody is asking him, why are you crying? He said, because I'm committing a criminal act, unpardonable. Why are you doing it then? Because if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. This is the material life. When material life dictates that you can step on your moral and ethical behavior and mindset for the sake of a ring, if I don't, he knows the crime that he is committing. But if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, and the ring will be taken. The same thing happened with a girl 3 years old wearing an earring. The man comes, cries, and says, please forgive me, and then pulls the earring out of her ear. Why? Cries because he knows what he has done. By then it became clear that this society was completely materialistic centered. They are devoid of any ethical and moral value, sanitized completely of any understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hereafter, judgment and punishment and reward. They have been disfigured. This maskh that the Quran talks about, this is it. This is a classic example. So during this phase, after the end of this phase, Ahlul Bayt, Imam Zain al-Abidin in particular, realized that there is nothing you can do. If to echo a phrase from Augustine when he speaks about the original sin, he says, after the original sin, humanity was corrupted beyond reprieve. That's exactly the situation of Muslim Ummah at that time. Imam Zain al-Abidin realized that society is corrupted beyond reprieve. There is no hope. We cannot do anything. This is why in the battles or uprising that took place after the demise of Karbala, Imams stood away. So what did they do? The second phase starts with this realization that if we want to do something, we have to start creating the nucleus that ultimately we can rely on it to propagate our message. And Imam Zain al-Abidin starts working. Only few of his disciples, but the major weight goes on the shoulder of 1,000 slaves that he purchases, teaches, educates, and then frees them. And say, go to the various parts of the Muslim world and educate the mass. So this is the second step. And this step continues until at least the life of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far and early part of Imam Rida salawatullah salam alayhi. The foundation, the nucleus is already established, and they are educating the mass and the community around them. And finally, the third phase comes, in which Ahlul Bayt begin to call these educated individuals, now is the time to rise. They become so effective. The notion that Bani al-Abbas suddenly realized that we need to put these imams under house arrest because of the fear that, look, these so-called cells, sleeper cells that Bani al-Abbas would call them, they are there, and if we don't do anything about the relationship between the Imam and these individuals, they would rise, as they did in Khurasan. So the third phase, to call these educated masses to rise up to the dogma, to the political and intellectual challenges of the time. And they succeeded. No place, just look at Iran. Now is considered to be the place in which 90%, 87% of the population are called Shias. Go back 500, 600 years ago, it was the center of Sunni activity. It was these scholars that were sent by imams to go around and begin to develop and intellectually teach and educate people that laid the foundation for Ahlul Bayt's ideology and ideals for people to begin to pick up. Otherwise, the Saudis would say the Safawis came and they forced people, slaughtered people. You cannot force and slaughter people and change them into one school of theology, from one school of theology into another within a few weeks, if the foundation is not there. So during the third phase is the phase in which we have to rise. Now let's go back. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the hadith says, "Man rakibaha naja, wa man takhallafa anha gharaq," what he is trying to tell us, that Ahlul Bayt are not names that we can hail, cheer, rejoice, applaud, or they are values that we have to implement in our life. It's not a name that we can hang in front of our houses or inside and outside, and then lead a life which is totally opposite direction to the values of Ahlul Bayt. We hang these names for blessing and grace. We have reduced Quran on the mantle and names of Ahlul Bayt. We put these names on our children, that when they grow up, they have no notion of Ahlul Bayt whatsoever or the values of Ahlul Bayt. Why? Because we were busy dealing with material life, trying to construct bigger houses and more cars and better holidays. The quality time, we sacrificed quality time with our family and our children for the sake of extra dollars. No wonder when our children go to school and they are asked basic usul al-din, they're still wondering, okay, what is usul al-din? Ask them about furu' al-din, it's double Dutch. Who's to blame? And then we want these children to stand up to justice in defense of right and wrong in this country and become the moral community that would create an alternative way of life for everybody else when everything else fails? No chance. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, we are still attached and mesmerized by the material life, and we are not prepared to come out of it, but in a different shape. The name of Ahlul Bayt, when the Holy Prophet says, "Man rakibaha," if you want to board the ship, you have to do something. وَمَنْ تَخَلَّفَ عَنْهَا غَرَقْ. If you don't struggle to implement the values of Ahlul Bayt if we don't struggle to implement the values of Ahlul Bayt in our lives, paying lip service to Ahlul Bayt is exactly what Imam Hussein says. الناس عبيد الدنيا والدين لاعق على ألسنتهم. So long as the comfort zones are not touched, we are more holier than holy. But as soon as somebody proposes and suggests something that has a minor effect on the comfort zone, it's unacceptable. Names of Ahlul Bayt are not to be rejoiced and applauded. Names of Ahlul Bayt stand for value system that we must implement in our lives. ASHURA is one example. The life of Imam Hassan is another example. The life of Amir al-Mu'mineen is another example. For the sisters and the brothers, the life of Fatima al-Zahra is another example. The life of Zainab, in few nights from now, we will center and focus on life of Zainab. There are two individuals, two players in the incident in ASHURA uprising. Equally effective. Both were dedicated towards the goal of preservation of Islam and containment. Imam Hussein, the brother and the sister. Imam Hussein and Zainab. Without Zainab, Hussein would have failed. And without Imam Hussein, Zainab would have failed. They complemented each other. Let's go back and sit down and ask ourselves, look at ourselves. How much of these values do we embody in ourselves, in our life? Before we beat our chest, or for some people start bashing their head. This is the critical question that I asked a few days ago. How much of these values are embodied? We embody those values in ourselves. Inshallah, we will continue to deal with this tomorrow night. Let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins and grant us the privilege of having a clear understanding of what Shia of Ahlul Bayt means. We ask Allah to forgive the shortcomings of those, the souls of those who departed from our community. Please join me in reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for the souls of the departed, but particularly bear in mind Marhum Allama Sheikh Muhammad Jawad Shirli. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Ahsan Maulana for that beautiful lecture. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ala Muhammad for him, please. You know, what he says is so true, and it rings clear, and I think about it like in our daily lives. It's like, if you're being religious nowadays, people look at you and say, hey, this guy's a weirdo, you know, or this girl's a weirdo. It's like they're too concerned with the material world, and it's like they're judging you, and everyone's judging you, how you dress, how you look, what you drive, and it's really becoming unfortunate. And you have to see past that and focus on spiritual attainment and the akhirah, the afterlife, not this world. Stop chasing after the wrong things. But inshallah, we're going to get to some beautiful poetry right now. I hope everyone's ready. So without further ado and delay, allow me to present Sister Fatima Najdi. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and Ali Muhammad for her, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا وصلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Dear brothers and sisters, respected scholars, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, this poem will correlate with the majlis we're going to be hearing today by Brother Yunus Makki in regards to Al-Abbas alayhi salam. If I can please ask for one loud, unified salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, Abbas, would you make the earth sway? In the heart of distress, your heart was placed. It roamed around desert sands with promises. In it, a burden only your two hands could lift. You guarded everything from being ashes, though your hands they take away, and against your might, evil brushes. As in winds, evil would sing a hymn, and to your moral, evil it charges. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? In a moment of zeal, you released your inner lion, a burst of patience that reflected water, glistening within those who knew and loved you. And for years, you've shined within the lover. How could patience be within the one who bore it? How could patience be within the one who bore it? If an origin held captive to what it gave nature, would it spread amongst the nations? Abbas brought patience to the skies of the future. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? O patience of the moon, you brought what you are. Patience embodied into the body you gave away. And to the worlds of millions, patience you've inspired. You gave your hands and they'd be on display. In dreams they are seen in the eyes of your mother. As it was for her and God, Hussein you'd obey. A moment with arms, you let water leave you. A moment with arms you let water leave you. When your arms they took, you were in dismay. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? With no strength in arms that were once stolen, you have the power of patience instilled in us. We'll have you and your force a basis, and to patience we would tell leave, so that a patience that's left armless would rise against the night in each soul and wrestle against their trials in darkness. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens would you make the earth sway. In the moonlight of midnight, near a river, you lived a thirst nothing would satisfy, unless the children crying would drink first, and in your hands the water it sat. You'd defy all temptation leading away from Hussein. A battle came from this water. You've said goodbye. You fought water. You fought others. You fought water. In the moment you arose above all, none could deny. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? Your power was left in awe of your name. It became one embarrassed. We feel it in our veins, breathing patience. It brought our blood to be the calmest, and amongst generations we've seen, you bring those in fear to be the bravest. Because the water that reflected you still reflects our skies as it's promised. When our strength defies the strength of the world, we'll look at the glowing moon, and in awe of you, we'll glorify it till our mornings and afternoons. It knows it's undeserving of our praises. The moon knows it's undeserving of our praises, because it saw your might, and so it's left hewn. This is why it disappears in the day. This is why the moon disappears in the day. It's embarrassed to come, because we'll question if upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh. To relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? Have you seen the world bring persistence? It's found lost amongst its people. So we're searching for clarity in this chaos. To plant trees named Abbas, the world's jewel. Its leaves would be patience, fluttering within winds, so that all of our trials with Abbas we'd handle. All from one moment of sacrifice near a river. All from one moment of sacrifice near a river. The worlds after you, O Abbas, are grateful. How you've mirrored God's perfection. Oh, how you've mirrored God's perfection. In an unbearable thirst you stood with nothing. In a deep-seated complaint you've restrained. As your radiance outshined the sun, it's bleeding. Abbas, a single thread in a knit sweater. Abbas, a single thread in a knit sweater. We see your moment of tolerance weaving an entire tragedy that brings all moments together into a knit sweater to keep giving. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? You brought a piece of patience to the heart that knows your name when bonded to a trial. It soothes the thirst of ease, but to those who are doubtful, I tell you to look within his story and find one flaw. He's secure from all water and all evil. You'll fall into a deep love with him. It floods the heart, and for your sorrows, it'll grapple. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? Into an abyss of an unknown impatience we fell. In it are oceans deeper than the skies of heaven. We'll drown without your soft power. Abbas will drown without your soft power. Come close to our happiness. You've fallen. To your thirst it was torture, but to your spirit and honor, to the world's left untaught, you brought a lesson. I look up to your patience in a thirst impatient. I look up to your patience in a thirst impatient. I've loved this moment. Before it I was an orphan, for patience wouldn't give up its position. Patience wouldn't give up its position until the son of Ali came to a river with a promise. If to quench your thirst you came towards a river, tell me, why have you left empty-handed and breathless? Your women and children were left weaving. This world misses the warrior who was armless. Your assurance remains unattended. These children, still in their thirst, weep in darkness. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, Abbas, would you make the earth sway? The world is numb from your sadness. How much pain could gather together to equal to your confusion of a failed promise? A patient thought and action for your brother. His thirst came first in the realms of your tongue. Within time, I'm still dazed by Karbala's chapter. We've chosen you as patience you've conquered. You've defeated a battle between you and water. You've defeated a battle between you and water. To none other but Abbas will we entitle as patience. It's as if patience was engraved upon his heart, yet when it came into existence, patience was told to learn from him as if it's an art. It failed. It failed because, as you see in the skies, the moon has stayed. It'll never depart. It's our guide, our beacon, a patient thought and action. This has shined good and evil apart. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? When on the door of your heart patience comes, when on the door of your heart patience comes, leave it there in the cold with no answer. Leave it there in the cold with no answer. Let it know Abbas has been sitting inside, warm. When on the door of your heart patience comes, leave it there in the cold with no answer. Let it know Abbas has been sitting inside, warm. The light within me he's made brighter. Imagine when the lights of his lovers are collected. Our memory is a mist with Abbas as its vapor. Our memory is a mist with Abbas as its vapor. As each moment within the tragedy of Karbala, we look to see Abbas was its teacher. Each moment within the tragedy of Karbala, we look to see Abbas was its teacher. If upon our hearts unbearable trials would weigh, to relieve our burdens, would you make the earth sway? Would you make the earth sway? Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsan, sister. Let's have a loud salawat for that beautiful poetry. Ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next, we're going to continue to our majlis, and it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Brother Yunus Maki to the stage. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad for him, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة غريب يا مظلوم شهيد كربلاء يا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما أبا الفضل يا من أبا الفضل يا من أسس الفضل والإباء أبا الفضل إلا أن تكون له أباه تطلبت أسباب العلا فبلغتها وما كل ساع بالغ ما قد تطلبها Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Brothers and sisters, who was Abbas? Abbas was the captain. Abbas was the commander. Abbas, the brave and strong warrior. Abbas, the flag bearer of Hussein. Abbas, the faithful brother. Abbas, the guardian of Zainab. Abbas, Sukaina's dear uncle. Abbas, son of al-Banin. Abbas, the son of the lion Ali. Abbas was like his father Ali. He had all the qualities of his great father. Abbas was brave, strong, wise, loving, obedient, and faithful. His father Ali, on his dying bed, gave Abbas his hand and put it in the hand of Hussein. And he told him, my son Abbas, Hussein is the son of Lady Fatima. Abbas, you are my son. Abbas, Hussein is your master. You are Hussein's slave. Abbas, take care of Hussein. Since that day, Abbas had fulfilled Hussein's every wish like a faithful slave. Look at this brother, my dear brothers and sisters. Abbas treated Hussein like his master. He always treated Lady Kulthum and Lady Zainab with great respect. He followed Hussein like a shadow. Abbas was with Hussein in Karbala. Hussein knew Abbas was like their father Ali, a brave and strong warrior. He will tell Abbas, my brother Abbas, keep your sword in its place. Don't take your sword out to fight. We have come to save Islam in peace. Abbas, we have come to teach true Islam. We will teach Islam, not with our swords, but with our character. Patience, Abbas, patience. When Yazid's men pulled out Hussein's tents from the river bank, Abbas became very angry. He pulled out his sword and wanted to fight there and then. But Hussein told him, no, Abbas, no. Be patient. We have not come here to fight, Abbas. Imagine, brothers and sisters, a warrior like Abbas asked not to pull his sword out after being treated so badly. Brothers and sisters, this is the epitome of great patience. Ashura came. Ali al-Akbar gave his last adhan. Everyone in Hussein's camp prayed Fajr Salat. The battle of Karbala began. One by one, Hussein's companions went to the battlefield and were martyred. Every time a body was brought to the tent, Abbas went to Hussein and said, Master, Master Hussein, now allow me to go to the battlefield. Enough, Master, enough. Let me go and fight those beastly men, Master. Every time Hussein calmed down, Abbas sang, no, Abbas, no, Abbas. How can I let you go? You are the captain of my army. You are the right-hand man. Abbas, you are my support. Abbas, where would I be without you? Abbas, no, Abbas, no. Abbas's three brothers went to the battlefield and were martyred. Ali and Muhammad, the sons of Lady Zainab, went to the battlefield and were martyred. Qasim went, his body was trampled and torn to pieces. Abbas became very restless and could not take it anymore. Somehow he must get permission. Abbas walked to Kulthum and Lady Zainab's tent and then turned back. He knew they won't let him go. Abbas walked to Hussein's tent several times. He would walk back and forth. How could he persuade his beloved Hussein to let him go? Abbas is restless. Abbas wants permission to fight. Just then, Amina, the daughter of Imam Hussein, known as Lady Sukaina, with her water container came to Abbas. Amma al-atash qad qatalani. Uncle Abbas, look at my water container. It is very dry. Thirst, my uncle, thirst. Sukaina is very thirsty. Uncle Abbas. Abbas thought of a way to get permission from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He picked up little Sukaina and went to Hussein's tent. Abbas sat in front of Hussein with Sukaina on his lap. Abbas didn't have to say anything. Hussein looked at Abbas and then at Sukaina and her water container. Hussein understood Abbas's expression. Abbas, how can I say no now? You have brought Sukaina with you. Go, Abbas, go. Go, Abbas, go. Go and fill Sukaina's water container with water. Imam Hussein then told Abbas, one request, my dear brother Abbas, leave your sword with me. Remember, Abbas, you are not going to fight. You are just going to get the water for Sukaina. Abbas gave his sword to Hussein. He kissed Sukaina's forehead and put her down, and he said, Sukaina, my beloved, Sukaina, pray for me. Pray that I get water for you. Abbas then went to Zainab. Zainab, ya al-Masaib, ya Zainab. Sister Zainab, give me permission to go to the battlefield. Lady Zainab told him, Brother Abbas, I used to hear that my hijab would be looted. Abbas, I used to say, how dare could anyone snatch my hijab when I have 18 brothers? Now, Abbas, that you are going, I really believe that my hijab would be taken away. Abbas went to the battlefield. In one hand, Abbas carried the flag of Hussein's army, and in the other he held a spear in Sukaina's water container. He had no sword to fight, but had a spear for protection. He had her to the river Furat. Yazid's soldiers saw Abbas coming. They had seen Abbas fight and knew he was like their father Ali. They were shaking, they were scared. The few who dared attack Abbas were killed by his spear. Abbas reached the water and filled Sukaina's water container. He then asked his faithful horse to drink water. The horse then turned around to Hussein's camp. It is as if he was saying, Master, Master, are you sure that the water will reach Sukaina? Master, how can I drink when Sukaina and Ali Asghar are thirsty? Let us first give them water and then I will drink some. Abbas with his flag in one hand and his spear and Sukaina's water-filled container in the other hand rode back. Umar ibn Sa'd, Yazid's commander, ordered his men to stop Abbas taking water to Hussein's stance. The enemy surrounded Abbas. They fired arrows from all directions. Abbas was hit with many arrows. He was bleeding heavily. Just then, a soldier came from behind and struck his sword at Abbas's shoulders. Abbas gripped the water container with his teeth as his arm and spear fell to the ground. Aywa Abbas. Another soldier came and struck his sword into Abbas's other shoulder. The flag now fell and the other arm fell to the ground. Imagine Abbas on his horse, no arms, holding Sukaina's water container with his teeth. He thought to himself, water must reach Sukaina, water must reach Sukaina. Abbas still had the strength to go on. Sukaina's water container is still filled with water. An arrow was shot. Brothers and sisters, it hit Sukaina's water container. The water began to pour out. Poor Abbas lost all his strength as the water poured out from Sukaina's water container. He fell from the horse and cried out. Brothers and sisters, the narrations say that when one attempts to fall down, they catch their fall with their hands, but Abbas had no hands. Abbas had no hands, so when he fell from his horse, he fell on his face. رحم الله من نادى وعباسا وعباسا. He fell from his horse and cried out, Master, come to me. Master, let me see you for the last time. Then Abbas said something he never said in his entire life. His whole life he would call him Master. Except in this moment, Abbas screamed out, Hussein, Ya Akhi, Ya Hussein, brother Hussein. Hussein heard Abbas. He was heartbroken. With his hands on his back, he cried out. Imam Hussein cried out, Son Ali Akbar al-an qad inkasara dhahri. My back is gone. My support is gone. My flag bearer is gone. Hussein and Ali Akbar rushed to the battlefield. Hussein saw his brother lying on the ground. Imagine how Hussein felt when he saw his brother lying on the ground. Covered with blood, both arms suffered. He placed Abbas's head on his lap. My brother Abbas, you are leaving me too. He began whispering in Abbas's ear. My brother Abbas, you are leaving me too. Abbas, what will I do without you? My support, Abbas. I am finished without you. My brother Abbas, can I do anything for you? Abbas then told his brother, yes, master. When I came into the world, I saw your face first. Now as I am going from the world, master, I would like to see your face for the last time. Abbas, Imam Hussein asked Abbas, Abbas, why can't you see me? Abbas answered, the arrow in my eye and they're covered with blood. Imam Hussein cleaned Abbas's eyes. Abbas gazed at Hussein. Imam Hussein then told him, Abbas, I have a wish too. All your life you have called me master, once brother. All your life you have called me master. Once brother Abbas, just once call me your brother. Abbas then said, Hussein, my brother, do not take my body to the tents. I am ashamed of myself. I don't want Sukaina to see me. I don't want my sisters Kulthum and Zainab to see me like this. I don't want to see Kulthum and Zainab cry. Abbas then took his last breath and he would say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Brothers and sisters, Abbas's soul flew to the sky. Abbas died in Hussein's lap. Abbas, poor Hussein, what should he do now? Hussein picked up the flag and tried. Hussein picked up the flag and tried tying Sukaina's water container to it. Sukaina saw the flag coming. She shouted to the children, "Children, come my children. My uncle Abbas is coming with water. I will give you all water. Come children, come." Hussein reached the tent and he cried out, "Zainab, Zainab, help me, Zainab. Zainab, help me, Zainab. The flag has come but not its holder. عباس يا عيوني ترضى يذلوني وللشام يهدوني إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We are from Allah and to Him we will return. آمنا بالله. Please, my dear brothers and sisters, let us send our salams to Abu al-Fadl Abbas. It is narrated that when Sayyid Mahdi in Bahr al-Ulum, he went down to the grave of Abbas. He seen that Abbas's grave was smaller than that of a baby. Remember, my dear brothers and sisters, that growing up we always heard that Abbas was this tall man with broad shoulders. Yet when he's seen Abbas's grave, he's seen a small grave smaller than that of Abdullah al-Radhi'. The people around him then asked him, "Sayyid, why is Abbas's grave so small?" He replied that upon beheading Abbas, the horses trampled his body into 1,000,000 pieces until nothing was left from Abbas. Nothing was left from Abbas. So when Imam Zayn al-Abidin came to bury him, he placed all his body parts in a bed. Brothers and sisters, let us send our hearts out to that place. Assalamu alayka ya Aba al-Fadl al-Abbas. Assalamu alayka ya Qati' al-Kaffain. Assalamu alayka ya Akh al-Husayn. Brothers and sisters, please let us stand. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn وعلى الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين. السلام على التسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. Together, اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه. Together, في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين أجمعين.
Ahsan, brother. Thank you for the beautiful majlis. Let's honor him by having a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ala Muhammad, please. This concludes the English program. We're going to break for salat very shortly, and then the Arabic program is going to be